The forest was quiet, too quiet for the alien scouts who had landed on Earth in the dead of night. Their sleek ship hid beneath the tall trees, cloaked from human eyes. They had studied this planet for weeks and found nothing to fear. Humans were weak in their view, primitive compared to the power of the galaxy. Their mission was simple: observe, record, and prepare Earth for conquest. Yet as they moved deeper into the dark woods, a strange sound followed them. Low growls echoed between the trees, deep and heavy, like thunder rolling inside the chest of some unseen beast. The aliens paused, their glowing eyes scanning the shadows. One of them hissed in their own tongue. Animal life. Harmless. Their scanners confirmed heat signatures nearby, but the readings were blurred, as if the forest itself resisted their technology. They pushed forward, armored boots crushing fallen leaves. Then came the snap of a branch. The sound was close. Too close. The leader raised a hand, signaling silence. They aimed their weapons outward, beams glowing faint in the dark. The growl grew louder, more deliberate, as if the creature was circling them. Suddenly, one of the scouts screamed, dragged into the shadows before the others could react. His weapon clattered on the ground, firing a wild shot that lit the trees for only a second. In that flash of light, they saw something massive move, towering, covered in thick fur, eyes glowing with unnatural fire. The shape vanished before they could aim again. Panic spread in the group. The leader barked orders, but their voices trembled. "It is only a bear," one insisted, though his hands shook on the weapon. Primitive animal, nothing more. But none of them believed it. No normal bear moved like that. No normal bear silenced a soldier so quickly. Another sound came, this time above them. Branches swayed as the massive figure leapt tree to tree. The aliens fired beams upward, but the creature avoided every shot, landing behind them with earth-shaking force. The ground cracked under its weight. Another scout fell, torn away screaming into the dark. Only a smear of blood remained on the leaves. Their scanners flickered, trying to identify the beast, but all they showed was static. No match in their database. No record of such a creature on Earth. "Impossible," the leader whispered. "This planet should not have predators like this." Yet the evidence was clear before their eyes. The bear was hunting them with intelligence, striking fast and vanishing just as quickly. One scout tried to call the ship for support, but the signal jammed. Their comms were useless here, as if the forest itself was under the creature's control. The silence grew heavy again. Only the sound of their heavy breathing filled the air. Then a low rumble shook the ground, a growl so powerful it made their bones tremble. From the mist between the trees, two burning eyes appeared. They shone like molten metal, fixed on them with a purpose that was far beyond hunger. The leader raised his weapon, hands shaking. The creature stepped forward, and they saw it clearly for the first time. It was larger than any animal they had ever recorded on this planet. Muscles rippled under its fur like steel cables. Its claws were long, metallic in sheen, sharp enough to cut through armor. The growl turned into a roar that shook the forest, forcing the aliens to cover their ears. The sound was not just natural, it carried something else, something designed to terrify. One scout fired in panic, a beam striking the beast's chest. But instead of burning flesh, the light scattered like water against stone. The creature barely flinched. Its glowing eyes locked on the shooter, and in one swift motion, it crushed him into the ground. The others tried to retreat, stumbling through the trees, but the beast did not chase immediately. Instead, it stood tall, watching, as if testing them, learning their reactions. The leader realized with horror that this was no ordinary predator. It was too fast, too strong, and far too intelligent. It moved with purpose, like a soldier trained for battle. The screams of their fallen echoed in their minds, but worse than the screams was the silence that followed. The forest swallowed every sound, leaving them with the chilling truth. They had not encountered a wild beast. They had awakened something else. Something hidden on Earth for a reason. The leader's hands shook as he whispered to the surviving scouts. "This is no animal. This is a weapon. And as the monster's glowing eyes vanished back into the trees, the aliens realized they were being hunted, and their mission to conquer Earth had just turned into a fight for survival. Deep beneath Earth's surface, far from the cities and hidden even from most governments, there were tunnels carved into ancient rock. Inside those tunnels, humans had worked in silence for decades. The project had no official name, but among the few who knew, it was called Project Ursus. It began during the first whispers of signals from deep space. Decades ago, humanity had caught fragments of strange transmissions, patterns too complex to be natural. While the world above carried on with wars, politics, and progress, a secret circle of leaders decided Earth could not take chances. If the signals came from an advanced civilization, then invasion was only a matter of time. And so Project Ursus was born. In those hidden labs, scientists and military engineers combined their knowledge in ways most of humanity would never accept. They studied the strongest predator of Earth's wild lands, the bear, and they asked a dangerous question. What if they could make it stronger, faster, smarter? Not just an animal, but a guardian. They took strands of DNA, twisted them with synthetic code, and bonded it with metals that fused to bone like armor. At first, the results were failures. The subjects grew unstable, their bodies rejecting the changes. But the scientists did not stop. They refined, they adjusted, they experimented in silence, knowing the world above must never know. Over time, they created something that worked. A beast that was more than flesh. A creature that healed faster, that could absorb energy, that could sense enemies from miles away. A monster born not of nature but of human fear and determination. Generals whispered that this weapon was not made to fight humans, nor any nation on Earth. It was made for those who would come from the stars. 4 years, the creature was kept deep underground. It was studied, trained, even tested against drones and machines. The results were always the same: victory for the beast. But as time passed, debates grew among the hidden council that controlled the project. Some argued it was too dangerous, that releasing it would risk humanity itself. Others insisted it was Earth's only chance if invasion came. In the end, compromise was chosen. The bear would not be destroyed. Instead, it would be hidden across remote wilderness, far from human eyes, released into deep forests and mountains, where it could roam and adapt in secret. Humanity would forget it existed, but the project leaders would watch from afar, through hidden sensors and satellites. And so the guardians of Earth waited, silent and unseen. Generations passed, and most of the world above never knew. Even many leaders who came later were unaware of the truth. But the few who remembered believed that one day, when the sky brought strangers, the guardians would awaken. And that day had come. In the present, as the alien scouts struggled in the forest, their screams and signals were being recorded. Far away, in a command room beneath mountains, men and women sat before screens. They watched every moment, every move of the beast they had once created. They did not panic at the sight of the aliens falling. Instead, they whispered among themselves. It works. After all these years, it still works. The project had been silent so long that even some within the hidden council doubted it remained alive. But now they saw proof. The creature not only lived, it had adapted far beyond what they expected. One scientist leaned closer to the monitor, voice filled with awe. It is learning from them. It understands their weapons. Another answered in a cold tone. That is what it was made for. Meanwhile, the alien commander on the mothership received fragments of reports. The signals were messy, filled with static, screams, and the roar of something unknown. At first, he laughed, assuming his scouts were exaggerating. But then he saw the readings. The creature moved faster than any animal of this planet should. Its energy signature was unstable, almost as if it absorbed attacks rather than resisted them. That frightened him. Across the galaxy, bioweapon hybrids were forbidden, outlawed after wars that had destroyed entire civilizations. And yet here, on this small blue planet, humans had created one in secret. The commander narrowed his eyes, realizing they might have underestimated humanity. This was not the primitive species they had mocked. This was a species that had prepared for enemies long before contact was made. Back on Earth, the Hidden Watchers did not send reinforcements. They gave no orders to help the aliens or to control the beast. They only watched in silence, taking notes, learning. One general finally spoke in a low voice. The galaxy has no idea what waits for them here. Another replied with a grim smile. They will soon find out. And so the truth of Project Ursus began to spread not through human lips, but through alien screams. For the first time in history, the galaxy would learn that humanity's greatest weapon was not a fleet, not a bomb, not even a machine. It was a creature born of Earth's wild strength and human desperation. A creature they had called a bear, but it was no animal. It was the guardian of a planet that refused to kneel. And as the night dragged on in that dark forest, the hunters from the stars realized with horror that they had just become the prey. The forest was no longer quiet. It shook with the sound of fear, the fear of alien soldiers who had come believing Earth was nothing but a weak planet waiting to be taken. Now they marched through the trees in formation, weapons ready, trying to hide the panic building in their hearts. The commander of the scout team barked orders, his voice sharp, but even he could not keep his hands from trembling. They thought they were the hunters. They thought they had come to study a species too young to resist them. But now, under the shadow of the trees, they knew something else was out there, watching, waiting. The bear had already struck once. 2 soldiers were gone, their bodies never recovered. The creature moved like a ghost, silent when it wanted, loud when it chose to frighten. And worst of all, their advanced scanners, built to detect every life form, every trace of energy, failed completely. The beast was invisible to their systems. That should have been impossible, yet here they were, blind in the dark, hunted by something they could not measure. The aliens set traps, energy nets, and motion mines around their camp. They stayed close together, weapons glowing, searching the shadows. Hours passed. Nothing came. The silence stretched until some began to think maybe it had left. Maybe it was only defending its territory. But then came the sound. A low growl, deep and long, rolling through the night like thunder. Their hearts froze. The growl did not come from one direction. It echoed all around them, bouncing through the forest, making it impossible to tell where the beast was. The commander shouted for them to hold position, but fear was stronger than orders. One soldier fired into the dark, then another. Energy beams cut through the trees, lighting the night with flashes of blue fire. The forest burned, smoke rising, but nothing screamed. Nothing fell. And then, with terrifying speed, the bear struck. It burst from the shadows, a blur of muscle and metal, claws flashing. One soldier was torn apart before he even had time to scream. Another fired directly into its chest, the beam splashing uselessly across its skin as if it had been absorbed. The bear roared, the sound shaking the trees, a roar that seemed to carry not only power but something unnatural, something designed to freeze prey in place. The soldiers stumbled back, firing wildly, but the beast was already gone, slipping into the trees again. Silence returned, broken only by the sound of blood dripping from torn armor. The commander shouted for calm, but his voice cracked. He knew they were not facing an animal. Animals fought for hunger, for survival. This thing fought with intelligence. It struck hard, disappeared, and waited. It was testing them. It was learning. And the more it learned, the more hopeless their fight became. One soldier tried to activate a drone for aerial support, but before it could rise above the treetops, the bear leapt higher than they thought possible, slamming the machine to the ground in one strike. The pieces scattered across the leaves, sparking, dead. The soldiers began to break. Discipline failed. Some tried to run, but the shadows swallowed them. Screams echoed, cut short in seconds. The commander tried to regroup, pulling the survivors together. "Stand and fight," he shouted, though his own eyes betrayed terror. They formed a circle, weapons outward, but they knew it was useless. The forest had become the bear's battlefield, and they were only prey inside it. Then came something worse. They found one of their own lying dead, his weapon ripped open. But not just ripped. The parts were arranged carefully on the ground, as if studied and dismantled by a hand that understood technology. The sight froze their blood. The commander whispered what none wanted to believe. "It is learning from us." At that moment, they realized the truth. This was not just a creature. This was a weapon, something engineered with purpose. And that purpose was to kill them. Above the forest, the mothership received fragments of data. The High Command laughed at first, mocking their soldiers for being defeated by what they thought was only a native predator. But then the recordings came through. Grainy images of glowing eyes, claws like metal blades, energy beams scattering uselessly. And worse, the sight of alien weapons taken apart, as if by a mind far more dangerous than they imagined. The laughter died in their throats. Back on the ground, the survivors were few. Their numbers had been cut in half in a single night. Every plan failed, every trap broken, every weapon useless. The commander stood in the center of the last group, his armor cracked, his courage fading. The growl came again, closer this time. The forest shook with it. The bear stepped into the firelight, taller than any of them, its eyes glowing with fire that seemed almost intelligent. It did not rush. It did not need to. The aliens raised their weapons anyway, knowing they would not matter. For the first time in their lives, soldiers bred for conquest and victory felt what it meant to face extinction. And as the bear moved forward, claws gleaming, they understood the terrible truth. Humanity had built something not even the galaxy was ready to fight. High above the dark forests of Earth, the alien mothership floated like a black shadow against the stars. Inside, commanders watched the failing signals from their scouts with growing unease. At first, when the reports came of a giant beast, they had laughed. How could soldiers armed with advanced plasma weapons struggle against a simple predator? Earth was supposed to be a young world, full of weak life forms, nothing that could stand against galactic power. But the laughter ended as soon as the real data arrived. The images were blurred, shaky, but they showed enough. Glowing eyes moving in the dark. A massive shape covered in fur and metal. Soldiers firing point-blank into the creature's chest only for their beams to scatter uselessly. And then the sound of screaming, cut short by claws that could tear through armor. Worst of all, the final images showed one of their rifles taken apart, its pieces scattered in a way that suggested purpose. The beast was not only killing, it was learning. The main commander stood silently before the screen, his long fingers gripping the edge of the console so hard the metal bent. Around him, officers shifted nervously, waiting for orders. "This is no animal," he said at last, his voice flat. "It is a weapon. A weapon humans have kept hidden." Whispers spread through the control room. The word weapon carried heavy meaning in the galaxy. Long ago, bioweapons had been banned by every council, outlawed after wars where living creatures, fused with technology, had destroyed entire civilizations. Any world caught creating them had been wiped out to prevent disaster. Yet here on Earth, a primitive species had done what no one dared. They had broken the oldest law of the stars. "Impossible," one officer said, shaking his head. "Humans should not even know of such things. They only just reached space. They are not advanced enough." But the data proved otherwise. The commander turned, his eyes burning with anger. "Do not underestimate them. They may appear primitive, but they are not fools. This thing is real, and it is dangerous." He pointed to the screens where the last signals from the scouts blinked weakly. "Already, it has destroyed half a team. If it spreads, if there are more, then we face a threat far greater than we planned for." The room fell silent. They all knew what that meant. If the galaxy learned of this, Earth would not just be invaded. It would be marked for complete cleansing. Planets that created forbidden weapons were not conquered, they were erased. But another thought crept into the minds of the officers. If the humans could build such a thing, what else were they hiding? The commander gave the order. "Deploy hunters. Send the war drones. Burn the forest if you must." Capture or kill the creature. We cannot allow this to remain free. At once, dozens of smaller ships detached from the mothership, their engines cutting across the night sky. Inside the forest, the last surviving scouts looked up as lights filled the clouds. Reinforcements had come, but instead of hope, fear filled their eyes. They had seen what the beast could do. More soldiers only meant more prey. The war drones descended first, mechanical machines with scanners sharper than any soldier's eyes. Their wings cut through the air with a mechanical buzz as they searched the trees. Behind them came squads of heavily armed warriors, their armor glowing with energy shields. They carried flamethrowers, net guns, and heavy cannons meant to destroy armored vehicles. The commander watched from orbit, his voice calm but heavy. Trap it. Surround it. Do not let it escape. I want proof of what the humans created. On Earth, the hunters spread out, forming a line across the forest. Traps activated, flames roared, and energy nets shimmered in the night. The forest turned into a cage of fire and light. For a moment, silence reigned. Nothing moved. The hunters began to believe maybe the beast had fled. But then the ground shook. A roar tore through the smoke, louder than thunder, filled with rage. The trees split apart as the bear burst forward, its body glowing faintly as it absorbed the heat and light of the flames. The drones fired beams from above, but the creature leapt higher than any machine predicted, slamming one drone from the sky with a single strike. Sparks rained down as the machine fell burning into the trees. Soldiers fired cannons, their blasts lighting the night, but the beast twisted through the chaos, its claws tearing through shields as if they were paper. Every time it struck, it disappeared again, moving with impossible speed. The commander on the ship gritted his teeth. This was no wild charge. The creature fought with strategy, targeting drones first, heavy cannons next, cutting down their eyes and their strength before moving in for the kill. It thinks like a soldier, one officer whispered in horror. The commander said nothing, but his mind was racing. If this was just one beast, what if there were more? What if the humans had built an army of them, hidden across the planet? Already, the war drones were falling, their wreckage smoking in the trees. Soldiers screamed over the comms, begging for retreat. And then the line went silent. No voices. No signals. Only static. The commander stared at the dead screens, his chest tight. Around him, his officers waited, pale with fear. He turned slowly, his voice cold. Inform the council. Humanity is not what we believed. They have built the forbidden. They have built extinction. The forest burned under the light of alien fire. Flames spread through the trees, smoke rising high into the night sky, but even with their war machines, the aliens gained no victory. The creature moved through smoke and fire, as if the forest itself obeyed it. Every time the soldiers thought they had it surrounded, the beast was already behind them, tearing through armor and weapons with claws that glowed like molten steel. Panic spread like poison through the ranks. Soldiers bred for conquest, trained never to fear, now screamed as their formation collapsed. From orbit, the commander watched the disaster unfold. Dozens of drones had fallen, armored soldiers torn apart, and the creature still lived, stronger than ever. Impossible, he whispered, but the truth stared back at him through the burning forest. His soldiers were prey, and this beast was a predator built for war. On the ground, the survivors tried to regroup, pulling back toward the landing crafts. Their heavy flamethrowers roared, setting walls of fire around them to create a barrier, but the flames only cast longer shadows. Within those shadows, the bear's glowing eyes appeared, watching, waiting. One soldier fired a net gun, the energy web wrapping around the beast, trapping it for a moment. Cheers erupted, but hope died instantly when the creature flexed. The net shattered like glass, the fragments burning out as the bear broke free. It lunged, striking with unstoppable force, crushing the soldier beneath its claws. The cheers turned into screams once more. Still, the aliens refused to retreat. They poured firepower into the forest, collapsing trees, sending shockwaves that shook the earth. The ground turned to ash, the air thick with smoke, but the beast did not die. It adapted. Each energy blast that struck its body seemed to feed it, the light scattering across its metallic fur as if absorbed into its core. The commander realized with dread that their weapons were making it stronger. Far from the battlefield, in a hidden command center deep under Earth's mountains, human eyes watched everything. They saw the beast tearing through alien lines, saw their weapons fail, and they did not panic. Instead, they spoke in calm, measured voices. "It is working as designed," one scientist said, tapping the screen. "The more they fire, the more it learns." A general nodded. "This is not a battle. This is a test." For the humans who knew the truth of Project Ursus, this was the proof they had waited for. The guardians they had built were not myths. They were real, and they were unstoppable. Back in the sky, alien officers pleaded with their commander to withdraw. "We must pull back," one shouted. "We are losing too many. This is not worth the cost." But the commander refused. To retreat now would show weakness to the council, and worse, it would leave the humans with hope. No, they had to crush the beast, no matter the cost. He ordered every remaining unit down, filling the forest with soldiers and machines. The ground shook as heavy walkers descended, metal giants armed with cannons strong enough to level cities. They stomped through the burning trees, firing blasts that shattered the earth. For a moment, the aliens thought victory was near. How could even a creature like this stand against so much firepower? The answer came quickly. The beast did not hide. It did not run. It charged straight at the walkers, roaring so loud the air shook. Their cannons fired, explosions ripping through the ground, but the creature leapt higher than their machines could aim, slamming onto one walker's head. Its claws tore through the cockpit, ripping out the pilot inside. The machine fell, crashing into the trees. Another walker fired, but the bear ripped off the cannon and hurled it aside like a broken toy. The battlefield turned to chaos. Soldiers fired from every side, drones swarmed, but the beast moved faster than any of them could track. One by one, the walkers fell, their massive bodies burning in the fire. Above the planet, the commander gripped the rail, his face pale. This was not a hunt anymore. This was a massacre. His army, his machines, all the strength of his fleet, reduced to nothing by one creature. And worse, he now understood the full horror. This was only one beast, one weapon. If humans had created one, then there could be others hidden across the planet, waiting. The commander's voice trembled as he gave the order. "Pull back. Retreat to orbit. Do not engage further." The remaining ships scrambled into the sky, leaving behind burning wreckage and silence. On the ground, the bear stood alone in the ruins, its eyes still glowing, its chest rising and falling with steady breath. It had not only survived the alien attack, it had claimed victory. Watching from their hidden base, the humans finally spoke the truth aloud. "The battlefield has turned," a general whispered. "They thought they could conquer us. Instead, they have awakened our shield." And as the bear raised its head toward the stars, roaring into the night sky, the message was clear. Earth would not be taken easily. Not while its guardians walked the land. In the quiet that followed the retreat, smoke rose from the burning forest and the wreckage of alien machines lay scattered like broken toys. The bear stood among the ruins, blood steaming on its claws, its glowing eyes fixed on the sky where the enemy ships pulled back into orbit. It had won, but this was not the end. Above Earth, the alien commander paced inside his mothership, furious and afraid. His soldiers had been destroyed, his war machines shattered, and all by a single creature. He had underestimated humanity, and now the truth pressed down on him like a weight he could not escape. Reports streamed in from across the fleet, filled with panic and disbelief. Soldiers whispered of a monster that could not be killed, a predator that fought like a soldier, a beast that absorbed their weapons and tore through their strongest machines. The commander silenced them, but the fear lingered in their eyes. He knew the council would demand answers. He knew if word spread that humans had built forbidden weapons, the galaxy would not laugh at Earth anymore. They would fear it. And fear could lead to war on a scale even he could not control. On Earth, Deep inside hidden bunkers, the secret watchers of Project Ursus spoke calmly as they monitored the aftermath. 4 years, they had stayed silent, letting the world believe Earth was unprepared for what lay beyond the stars. But now the silence was over. One general leaned over the table, his voice sharp. They have seen. They know now. The council will not stay quiet after this. Another replied, his tone steady. Good. Let them know. Let the galaxy understand that Earth is not prey. We are the hunters too. Their words carried through encrypted transmissions, not just to their own forces but to the alien fleet above. For the first time, humanity spoke directly into the void. The message was short, cold, and powerful. You wanted Earth. Now face what protects it. The aliens froze as the broadcast echoed through their comms. The voice was human, strong, without fear. The commander clenched his fists. How dare these primitives speak with such arrogance? But his anger was hollow. He had seen what their weapon could do. He had no victory to stand upon. The council across the stars listened as well. In their great halls of light and crystal, leaders watched the same footage. The monster in the woods, the glowing eyes, the ruined machines, the roar that silenced soldiers. Many shook their heads in denial. Humanity was not supposed to be this dangerous. They were too young, too reckless, too primitive. But the truth burned on the screens. Humanity had created something that should not exist. Some council members demanded immediate destruction. Earth must be cleansed. This cannot be allowed to spread. Others hesitated, fear in their voices. If they built this in secret without our knowledge, what else might they have built? If one creature can destroy a fleet, what would war against their whole world look like? The chamber filled with arguments, shouts, and panic. Back on Earth, the bear raised its head and roared again, the sound carried across hidden microphones, broadcast straight into the council chambers. It was not just the roar of a beast. It was the roar of a weapon built with purpose, the roar of humanity's defiance. The aliens who had mocked Earth now trembled, their arrogance shattered. On the mothership, the commander turned to his officers, his voice low. We thought them weak. We thought them unprepared. But they have been waiting for us. He looked again at the ruined forest, at the monster that still stood despite all they had thrown at it. We are not fighting a planet. We are fighting a secret they have kept for generations. For the humans who controlled Project Ursus, this was the moment they had prepared for. They knew the galaxy would never see them the same way again. The age of being overlooked, mocked, and ignored was over. Humanity had revealed its shield. And the shield was not a fleet, not a weapon of steel and fire, but living flesh twisted with human will, a guardian that no invader could survive. The generals in their bunker exchanged looks, their faces hard. One of them spoke softly, almost with pride. The galaxy calls it a monster. We call it protection. Above Earth, the alien fleet drifted in silence, their commanders unable to decide their next move. Attack and risk annihilation, or retreat and face shame before the council. Neither choice offered safety. And as the bear vanished back into the forest shadows, leaving only wreckage behind, both aliens and humans knew the same truth. The reveal had come. Humanity had shown its hand. And the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy had watched Earth in silence, first with arrogance, then with fear. Now the truth could no longer be denied. The creature in the forest, the weapon disguised as a beast, was not an accident of nature but a design of human hands. Across the stars, council members argued in panic, some demanding Earth be erased before its weapons could spread, others warning that such a move might doom them all. On the mothership above Earth, the commander stared down at the burning land, at the ruins of his soldiers and machines, and knew that retreat had bought him nothing but shame. His army was broken, his fleet afraid, and the humans had not even sent soldiers to fight. They had unleashed only one guardian. If there was one, there could be more. That thought haunted every officer who still dared to stand at his side. In the hidden bunkers beneath Earth's mountains, The human generals watched the alien fleet drift uncertainly in orbit. Their eyes were calm, their hands steady. They had planned for this moment, and they had waited for decades. "They will either run or they will strike again," one general said quietly. "If they run, they will spread fear of us across the galaxy. If they strike, they will meet extinction." Another nodded. "Either way, humanity wins." Outside, the bear moved silently through the forest, no longer roaring, no longer showing itself. It had done its part. It had destroyed the invaders, it had shown the world its strength, and now it returned to the shadows, patient and watchful, waiting for the next call. It was not alone. In the deserts, in the mountains, in the frozen wastes, other guardians stirred. Eyes opened in caves where no human had walked in centuries. Low growls echoed in valleys where satellites never reached. The truth was simple. Project Ursus was not one beast. It was a program, a legacy, an army of shadows placed across the world like hidden fangs. The aliens did not know it yet, but they had only seen the beginning. On the mothership, panic spread. Scouts reported strange readings from other regions of Earth. Unnatural heat signatures, movement too large to be natural animals, signals vanishing into static. The commander's stomach turned cold. More of them, he thought. Many more. He tried to steady his voice. "We still hold the skies. We can strike from orbit. We can burn the planet if we must." His words were brave, but none of his officers answered. They had seen the recordings of the creature ripping apart war drones, absorbing fire, dismantling weapons as if mocking their technology. If one guardian could do that, what would an army do? One officer finally whispered the thought they all feared. "If we attack again, it will be us who face extinction." Silence fell over the bridge. The commander looked at the planet below, blue and green, beautiful and deadly. In the end, his pride meant nothing. He could not risk his fleet. He could not risk his people. Humanity had forced a choice on him, extinction or surrender. Slowly, he gave the only order left. "Withdraw. Mark this world as untouchable. It belongs to them now." Across the galaxy, the Council received the same message. Earth was not weak. Earth was not prey. Earth was a fortress guarded not by ships but by living shadows built to kill anything that threatened their home. The council halls filled with silence, leaders staring at one another in fear. Some wanted to destroy Earth still, but none dared to be the first to try. And so the galaxy did what it had never done before. It went quiet. Humanity had revealed itself, and no one dared to speak against them. Back on Earth, the generals watched the alien fleet turn away, their ships vanishing into the black of space. A slow smile spread across one man's face. "They will tell their people what happened here," he said. "They will tell them of the monsters in our forests." Another answered with cold certainty. "Good. Let them be afraid. Let them remember." The bear stood on a ridge as the last glow of the alien engines faded from the sky. Its glowing eyes dimmed, its roar silent. It had done what it was made to do. It was not just a beast, not just a weapon. It was humanity's warning to the stars. A message written in blood and fire: Earth would never bow. And as the guardians of Project Ursus returned to their shadows, waiting for the next time their world needed them, the final truth was clear. The galaxy had come to conquer Earth. Instead, it had discovered its own fear. The invaders had mocked humanity, called them weak, but in the end, they were the ones who fled. Humanity had built monsters, yes, but to Earth they were not monsters at all. They were shields, protectors, silent giants who would rise whenever the stars sent enemies. And so the legend began, whispered first among frightened alien soldiers, then carried across council chambers, then spread from system to system like fire. The legend of Earth's bears, creatures that were no animals, weapons that meant extinction to any who dared invade. The galaxy now had a choice, extinction or surrender, and in their silence, in their retreat, they had already chosen.